Thank you very much. First of all, it's my great pleasure to be here and share this panel with such wonderful, powerful, beautiful, and great women. So the work I do in Georgia, I actually represent government of Georgia. It's a government entity, Millennium Challenge Account Georgia, that has teamed up with the US government entity, Millennium Challenge Corporation, and we are implementing one of the largest programs in Georgia in the field of education. Emphasis is put on economic development of the country, and in 2012-13 we have carried out a few studies to determine what are the major barriers of Georgia's economic growth. And no surprise, the major barrier was non-existence of well-educated Georgians who could carry on the works that a lot of international organizations have started, a lot of international businesses have started in Georgia, and this was mainly in the STEM field, science, technology, engineering, and math. Majority of you know that STEM fields are women in STEM fields are very poorly represented. And Georgia is not an exception. I'm very happy to be here with colleague from the STEM field who's a very successful scientist and works in one of our project-founded partnership in higher education, the San Diego State University Georgia program. So the 2012-13 studies showed very interesting data. Although girls outperform boys in math and science subjects in the school, they do not pursue careers in the STEM fields. And what was even more interesting, majority of teachers they had in the STEM were women. And then majority of the lecturers you find in the STEM fields in universities are also women. So we were very interested to learn what was the main reason why women and girls thought that STEM fields, STEM such as biochemistry or civil engineering or other engineering fields, they did not think was suitable and good for them. Interesting was that the stereotypes that exist in the families was the #1 reason for that. A lot of mothers and fathers and their peers think that becoming a civil engineer for a girl is unbelievable. Why? Why would someone want to take such a, in some cases I even hear words. Just yesterday I was talking to a family, and family came to me to get my advice on where their girl should pursue education. And I said, if she's interested in math, in sciences, why not civil engineering? And the mother looked at me and said, that's such a dirty profession. And I was like, what do you mean? I mean, it's 21st century. So we need to educate families. We need to educate educators not to be so gender biased. So coming from families where women are strong and men are supportive already breaks the glass ceiling. So I personally haven't felt much of the glass ceiling because I thought the barriers that were in front of me were not there because I'm a woman, but because there are barriers and you have to break them. So I cannot really tell you how important it is to have educators and families educated in the how to be, gender unbiased. So the STEM professions, and we've done a lot of work to help train educators. In educators, I mean teachers, as well as vocational education teachers, higher education professors, and university professors and faculty members, to teach them that the STEM is for men and women, and it doesn't matter. It's not a gender biased profession. So just to go back a little bit, what we have done is, as an organization, working with U.S. government entity, we were, of course, at the beginning required to come up with a gender and social integration plan, which could have been a plan that stayed on paper. That happens very often. You see organizations that have wonderful plans and policies and strategies, but they don't implement it. So we've tried to adopt the plan and the policies to the Georgia context. And what was the Georgia context? The Georgia context was that educators, majority of whom teachers, majority of whom are women, were very gender biased. We saw cases when math teachers, ladies, women themselves, would tell the student girls that math, it's okay, you're not good in math, because math is a boys' field, and I'm sure a colleague here would disagree with me. Whereas you would see also teachers tell the boys that some profession, let's say humanities, was not for boys, it was for girls. So this is where you need to carry out a lot of trainings and a lot of empowering courses to the teachers, so the teachers themselves can become your talking heads to spread the word that STEM, and doesn't matter what profession, there should be equality and equal access to education for any gender. So we have trained 22,000 teachers throughout Georgia, and these are teachers of science, technology, sciences, math, English language, predominantly public schools, as well as we've launched new professions in vocational education, predominantly in engineering, in natural sciences, agriculture, again, the so-called traditionally male professions. And it took us a real effort to train the vocational education teachers, as well as the management of vocational education. For example, one of the professions we offer is a pilot, aircraft pilot. And we don't have any, we didn't have any girls in the profession, because when girls would apply, they would be told, you know, you have to be physically very fit and strong to be a pilot. Now we have 2 girls in this program. We've increased the number of girls in the vocational education programs, in the STEM vocational education programs, by 16%, which over the course of 2 years we believe is a great achievement. And how we've done that? We've used a lot of role models, women, showing women pilots, showing women engineers, having materials that are gender balanced. Materials, I mean teaching materials, because you would be surprised to see what the textbooks tell you in terms of the biases. You will never see women as pilots in any of the paintings that are given in the books. Or if you look at the textbooks of let's say even in the higher education, although there are not too many paintings and graphics, however, you see the professors also give this very biased approach to the students about their future careers. So the trainings have helped a lot, as well as bringing some of the great experiences. In addition to that, since majority of our program beneficiaries, and I'm also talking about the San Diego State University Georgia program beneficiaries, these are again STEM programs, American degree programs offered in Georgia, and there we've been able to attract girls into professions. So 36% of all the students are girls, which is better statistics than majority of other US universities. So what we've tried also to do is, it's important that when these beneficiaries graduate the schools, they find jobs. Because you may get great engineers, women, but maybe nobody will hire them because of, again, stereotypes. We've interviewed businesses, and it's interesting to see that 95% of the interviewed large businesses in Georgia believed that STEM professions were not for women. This is actually scary. This data is scary because let's say if the 36% of San Diego State University, very well educated girls graduate, will they be able to find jobs in Georgia? So in order to tackle that challenge, we've started to work with businesses, and we've started to offer programs by which we have invited the businesses to join the UN Women's Empowerment Principles. I'm sure a majority of you know that the UN has launched a platform by which businesses who believe that gender equality is their priority, they join this movement and they offer opportunities in the workforce that will promote equality, gender equality. So the Women's Empowerment Principle number 4 promotes education, professional development of women. And in 2015, we've signed an agreement with UN Women and launched a program, an awards program, Business for Gender, which is offered in Georgia every year. Just on Monday, next Monday, we'll have the celebration of the awards finalists, and this year we will choose businesses that have shown best practices, how they empower women in the workforce. And predominantly, of course, we're working with the businesses registered and operating in Georgia. So these best practices, when businesses share with their counterparts what they've done, this creates a very competitive environment. And you know, businesses are very competitive. So versus us, government entity, telling business that gender equality is important, we've decided that business should tell business what they're doing, how they're better than the others, how they outperform others. And this competition has given us some wonderful examples. So for example, one of the businesses in Georgia started a daycare service. I mean, this is unheard of. My daughter is sick today, and I was thinking, what should I do? I mean, it's a big challenge when your daughter is sick at home. Of course, my husband left in the morning without, escaped the family. I was thinking, should I cancel or should I go and talk to IWA colleagues? And I decided to come because I believe that this is a very important meeting. So with all the responsibilities that women have, without having daycare services or any support from employers at work, what do you do? I mean, how do you tackle this challenge? So one of the businesses decided, because they have predominantly women, they decided to open a daycare service, and it's paid by the business. I think this is a great achievement that we don't see in many places in Georgia. And there are many other great examples of how businesses can ensure gender equality. So what I wanted to say at the end is that education has the most important role to play in ensuring that our society understands the importance of equality, gender equality, social equality, and the teachers and educators have one of the most important role to play here. And perhaps I could pass the word to an educator here from the STEM field to talk about it.